Hi there, my name is Jeffrey Venture, and this is my D&Dify series. In this series, I take your favorite TV shows, movies, and other popular media and turn them into Dungeons & Dragons adventures. If you haven't seen it already, this video follows my How to Run a Valheim D&D one-shot video, so I highly recommend you watch that video before watching this one. In this Valheim player characters video, I'll be mostly conversing with you players, starting with giving you and your DM some character creation parameters so you can create a character that fits well within the setting of the adventure, and then diving into some character ideas that you can either rip off whole cloth or use to inspire your own unique character idea. And in case you missed it, we already added spellcasting classes to the mix in the first video. So if you want to play a classic Viking human barbarian, the best way I can think to categorize your avatar in the Valheim game, you can. But you should know that's not your only option. I think the magic that exists in Valheim serves as a great inspiration for a lot of really cool character ideas, and I think there's even more opportunities if we go to the Norse mythology that permeates Valheim as well. We'll be talking a lot about these rich thematic sources of inspiration to help guide your character creation throughout this video. So without further ado, let's talk about building D&D one-shot characters for Valheim. Standard disclaimer, spoilers ahead. Sorry to say it, but the final boss actually provides the foundation by which I justify the entire wizard class in D&D. So if you want to discover more or all of Valheim's secrets for yourself, go put a few more hours into the game and we'll see you when you get back. So first, let's talk about player races, since we only see humans in Valheim and I want more options for my PC races. First ones, easy ones, go ahead and add elves and dwarves to the roster since both are featured heavily in Norse mythology. You can also consider a couple of half-breeds, with half-elves being an obvious combination, and Goliath's appearing as an unlikely child of a human and one of the many giants we see in the mythos. I also think there's a really interesting opportunity for Aasimar to be stand-ins for Valkyries. I saw centaurs mentioned once or twice in my research for this video if that interests you, and if one of my players came to me asking to be a Kenku as a nod to Hugin, I'd probably let him do it. Oh right, you can also play a fueling PC with goblin stats. And with any of these races selected, I think I'd let players at my table play any official class in D&D 5e except for Artificer and maybe Monk. Admittedly, the Artisan table of Valheim does look a little artificer-y, so I can't say they would be completely out of place in a Valheim game, but they're certainly out of place when we look at Norse mythology. With Monk, obviously you can reflavor the class pretty much any way you want, but there's either Eastern influences or an idea of inner peace with the various Monk subclasses that just doesn't sit well with me when I think about characters I'd expect to see in my Valheim adventure. I don't know, fight me on that if you want. We both know the Monks got the unarmed attack to win that encounter. As always, subclasses add a lot of unique flavor to the base classes that may not jive well with the setting, so maybe check with your DM if you're trying to bring a psionic soul sorcerer or an echo knight into the mix. Then again, maybe your table is not that picky, and my best advice is not to let the ramblings of a silly YouTuber get in the way of your fun. So now that we know our parameters, let's look at some sources of inspiration within the setting so that we can make some story-rich characters to bring to the table. And maybe a character or two that makes a punchline out of the story. I don't know about you, but joke characters, as long as they're at least a little thematically aware, are almost always welcome for my one-shots. The big obvious means by which we justify most clerics, paladins, and a variety of subclasses that are powered by divine magic is the friendly neighborhood deities that appear in Valheim, Odin and Thor. By their presence in Valheim, we can infer the presence of Freya, Loki, Heimdall, and the other members of the Norse pantheon, which are conveniently documented in official D&D 5e material for use in your game. These deities, of course, run the gamut from good to evil and lawful to chaotic, potentially justifying warlocks that make their pacts with the less than scrupulous deities. Of course, our warlocks could also make their pact with a kraken, aka Jormungandr, the World Serpent, as well as a variety of other powerful entities from Norse mythology, which is where I think we should begin talking about the Valheim bosses. While warlocks could absolutely make a pact with any one of the powerful evil Forsaken, I think some of the other classes could also play off of the concepts of Valheim's bosses, starting with Eikthyr and the Elder potentially serving as inspiration for rangers and druids. I admittedly don't know what to do with Bone Mass, but Modair could inspire draconic sorcerers or the other dragon-inspired subclasses we got later on in 5e. And finally, the Lich gives us what we need to justify all the wizards. The Lich is being kept animate by necromancy. He's clearly using evocation for Meteor Swarm, and maybe he got all huge with transmutation? In any case, a Lich is, by almost every pop culture definition, a super powerful wizard who studied an incredible variety of magical disciplines to discover the secret to their lichdom. And I think any wizard I would make would have discovered the same magical secrets, stumbled upon the Lich's spellbook, or be otherwise inspired by the Lich. Setting the magic aside for a moment, I think there's an element of martial superiority in our source material to inspire our remaining martial classes. And I also think there's some extra interesting inspiration to be found if we start thinking about Mjolnir, Stormbreaker, and the dwarves who forged those powerful weapons in Avengers Infinity War. Maybe that's in Norse mythology too, and not just a whole cloth fabrication by Marvel writers? I don't know, but we're moving on. The last piece I'll leave you with is a couple of big character ideas that I'd totally play if someone ran this one shot for me, as well as a few small character ideas that either make me laugh or make me go, oh, yeah, that might be fun too. All with the intention of giving you something to outright steal, a starting place to inspire your own characters if you are having trouble getting started, or something to use if you are coming to this video having not played Valheim at all and just wanting to jump into a one-shot with all your friends who do. My first big character idea is an Archfey Warlock with Loki as my patron, taking the built-in charm effects and illusory magic to really bring out the features of Loki as seen in pop culture media, or, if I'm being honest, really just how I've seen Loki featured in the Marvel MCU. This tribute to Loki could also manifest in an arcane trickster rogue to bring out the knife play while keeping the illusory magic, but you can wield a dagger as a warlock too, so I think I'd pick up the warlock build first. I'm leaning towards elf for race with this one, but I could also see this concept played as a super atypical, non-strength based Goliath as a nod to Loki's frost giant heritage. The next big idea I had was for a school of necromancy wizard that simps for the Lich. Hard. There's a lot more I'd want to do with this character in a full Valheim campaign, but in a one-shot, I think the most fun I'd have is, with DM permission, having my zombies be raised corpses of the various humanoid monsters in Valheim, and maybe one or two Draugr zombies, skeletons, or rancid remains among the ranks of my undead horde. Race not important, but I've kind of been imagining a human necromancer for the concept. The last big idea I had is actually the aforementioned Viking barbarian, but I would add some Thor stylization by going Path of the Storm Herald with the sea features that turns you into a walking, raging lightning storm. Pretty simple concept, but I think it sounds super fun, and I would totally dual wield a warhammer for Mjolnir and a battle axe for Stormbreaker. Also, probably human, but maybe dwarf for race. Both sound cool. Alright, here come little character idea seeds, rapid fire. Kenku Divination Wizard is a nod to the all-knowing Hugin. Any race warlock with Jormungandr as their patron with the Fathomless Warlock Pact. Human or elf Beastmaster Ranger with a deer companion as a nod to Eikthyr, with which I'd definitely ask my DM for custom stats and appearance to make my deer more Eikthyr. Aasimar Oath of Whatever Paladin so I can flavor as a Valkyrie. And lastly an elf druid, probably Circle of the Land, who's super salty about falling off Yggdrasil, the world tree, and is just adventuring so he can find where a root or branch connects to the landmass of Valheim so he can get back to his life in the tree. Alright, that's all I got. I hope you players feel super excited and equipped to go into a Valheim adventure. Please send this to your DM and fellow players, and if you feel I've earned it, please leave a quick like and a comment telling me which of these character ideas sounds like the most fun to play in a Valheim one-shot with your friends. If you're watching this on YouTube, a subscribe is also super appreciated, and you can hit that bell icon to get notifications for these videos. Please hit the buttons to do the other things if you're catching this on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy adventuring.